Stop scrolling right now. In Columbus, a 21-year-old woman was murdered outside of Kroger, and she was pregnant. She was shot and killed by Columbus police. And her name was Takia Young, and the police officer belonged to Blendon Township in Columbus. Takia deserves justice.
There's a lot going on here. Number one, it is the word of the employee that she is a thief. It's not the word of the judge. It's not the word of the court. So they're attempting to stop her. Yes, she's not listening, but she at this point is not guilty. And her attempt to leave, well, it's maybe fleeing the scene, right? It's fine, we get that. She hasn't presented any threat to anyone, a person. She did not present a threat to those officers in attempting to drive. Let these people fucking drive away. Let them drive. Stop murdering them. That's all that we're asking. Stop murdering them. Let her drive away. Let her drive away.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about the tragic shooting death of Miss Takia Young, who happens to be a 21-year-old pregnant black woman who was shot and killed by police in the parking lot of a grocery store after being accused of stealing alcohol. Now, this story is going viral because the family is demanding that the police officers involved with the shooting be arrested and charged after what they are calling a murder. Okay, they're saying that these police officers murdered this young woman and that shoplifting should not be a death sentence. Now, I'm actually going to play a news clip of what happened here. I'm actually going to comment on it as I play it because I watched the body cam footage and I just want to put my opinion out there. This opinion will probably be unpopular, particularly to people who believe that anytime a police officer has to use deadly force versus an unarmed individual or what appears to be unarmed individual, that means that, the police are wrong, okay? And that somehow racism is involved here, okay? Because we already know what's going to happen, okay? The race hustlers of America, Ben Crump, they're going to be coming on down here to Columbus, Ohio in order to race grift and to stir up hate, animosity, and division, okay? To try to say this is an example of how the system's so systemically racist and yada, yada, yada. However, I'm not here to play off you guys' emotions. I'm here to give what I would assume to be objective analysis in regards to this situation and what went down here. And once again, we have another situation where if she just would have complied, then this incident would not have happened. I mean, that's really long story short, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get into this, but I have to just let you guys know that there may be some parts of this that I may have to censor to avoid the video getting age restricted by YouTube. They'll probably age restricted anyways, just because of the nature of what happened here. But if you want to see the uncensored version, you can go to my Rumble. But on YouTube, I'm probably going to have to censor out some of it because I'm trying to avoid it being age restricted, but it might just get age restricted anyway. So whatever. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Perspectives.
The police shooting death of Takia Young captured by police body cameras.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
I understand why it could be justified, but again, I don't make that decision. Ultimately, a grand jury is going to make that decision.
I think the video is going to speak for itself.
I still can't quite understand why his gun came out.
We bring you team coverage. You'll hear from the people touched by the shooting.
And you'll see the video for yourself next on NBC4 at 5.
Now, breaking news from NBC4.
Body camera footage released today from the deadly shooting at Kroger in Blendon Township last Thursday.
This comes 8 days after 21-year-old Takia Young was shot in the store parking lot on Sunbury Road. Young was pregnant when she was shot and also leaves behind 2 children. Now, we do want to warn you, the images you are about to see will be graphic and disturbing.
We are urging and warning viewers right now would be the time to leave the room or mute the TV if you do not want to watch.
We are also bringing you team coverage tonight. Caleb Michael has the response from the family's attorney. Eric Halperin is getting reactions from local law enforcement. But we begin with NBC4's Jamie Ostroff, who is here to walk us through this newly released video. Jamie?
Yeah, so this video comes from the body-worn cameras from each of the two officers who were involved in the incident last Thursday. Each of those videos is just over 1 minute long as the confrontation with Takaya Young plays out in just a matter of seconds. The first officer to interact with Takaya Young approaches her car under the suspicion that she stole liquor from Kroger.
Hey, stop. Hey, out of the car. Out of the car.
By the time the second officer gets to the car and walks in front of it, the first officer had asked Young to get out 5 times. He keeps asking. Young argues. You can hear the exchange on that officer's body-worn camera.
Out of the car. Out of the car. They said you stole stuff, do not leave. Get out of the car. Then get out. No, then get out. Get out of the car.
Young begins to drive. In this freeze frame, you can see the car make contact with the officer standing at the front of the car as his feet leave the ground.
All right, so I think this is a good portion to stop it and commentate. So as you guys saw, you had one police officer that was positioned in front of the car, giving cover to his partner who was actually asking the questions. And again, these officers, they don't know if this woman is armed. They have no idea what the intentions of this woman are. They're giving her a command. They're telling her, hey, you need to get out because you're suspected of shoplifting. Now, some people have an issue with how the cops approach the woman, right? They have an issue with that. However, regardless of whether or not you have an issue with that, at the end of the day, they are law enforcement. And, you know, they are humans with guns, okay? I'm trying to use common sense and be practical in my analysis here because I'm all about practicality. I'm all about actually saving lives instead of, you know, having situations like this happen and then turn around and wishing for changes that are going to happen to the system that won't happen, right? I'm not about that. I'm about practical things that individuals can do in order to avoid being in these situations. But clearly she made a mistake that a lot of these people make when they end up in these fatal situations is just simply not complying. You may have a problem with an officer approaching you and accusing you of stealing, or because they suspect you of stealing. You may not have done anything, and if you haven't done anything, that's all the more reason why you need to comply. Because if you didn't steal anything, that will be worked out, right? You will ultimately proven to be innocent. But if you did steal something, then, you know, you have more of an incentive to act like this. Now, I have a personal story. I've been pulled over by police 3 or 4 times, okay, for speeding tickets and stuff like that. I mean, most recently I got pulled over by police maybe 2 or 3 months ago for speeding. Now, I didn't think I was speeding. I thought it was BS. White guy and everything. He pulls me over. I'm not happy that he's giving me a ticket. But, you know, I keep the interaction as quick as I can. I don't say much to the guy. I do exactly what he tells me to do. And the interaction took 5 minutes. He went on his way. I went on my way. I ended up having to pay the tax because that's ultimately what it is. It's just a tax, okay? I ended up having to pay the tax, and I kept my life. Now, I could have chose to say, I wasn't speeding. You can't give me no ticket. I could have chose to mouth off. I could have chose to try to contest it. Chances are, what is the outcome of contesting it? Of arguing with the police officer? Because there's almost zero chance that you're going to get out of the ticket. In fact, you're more likely to get out of the ticket if you don't argue. If you just comply, he might just give you a warning. But there's zero chance you getting out of it. And when you argue and when you resist, you actually increase the chance of you losing your life. Because you increase the chance that now the officer may have to use fatal force, whether justified or not, because you are extending the interaction. What people need to understand is that when you interact with police, you need to have that interaction be as quick as you can. And the best way to do that is to do what they tell you to do it immediately, and then you can ask questions later, right? This is a guaranteed way to keep your life in 99.999% of situations. Now, in this situation right here, I'm going to give this young woman the benefit of the doubt that she wasn't stealing alcohol. I will hope that she wasn't stealing alcohol to drink while pregnant. I really hope that's not the case, but let's continue here.
That is when that officer fires one shot through the windshield. We've paused the video to not show that deadly shot. When we pick up the video a moment later, you can hear the commands continue. The car rolls through the parking lot, stopping under the awning by the store. The video ends with officers busting the driver's side window to get Young out of the car. Now, while Young argues with one of the officers, she denies, as you heard, stealing anything from Kroger. And I just want to walk you back to what she said. She said, quote, "Are you going to shoot me?" Those are the last words you heard from Takaya Young. Also, you may have noticed.
Are you going to shoot me? Those are her last words. I mean, again, I feel terrible about the young woman in her decision making, the fact that her decision making led to her losing her life. But we have to speak the truth in these situations in order to save lives. We have to start speaking the truth and just telling these people, look, if you don't want to lose your life, you need to comply. You need to comply when police officers are telling you, hey, get out the car. You need to get out the car. This woman actively decided to not only not comply, but to then at that point use her vehicle to run over a police officer, because that was the intent. She clearly didn't care about the police officer being in front of her car. She decided to try to drive off anyways when police are at her door with guns. She has to know this. But yet she chose to actively make a decision to put her own life in danger by deciding to drive off anyways. And again, you're going to have people that come out here and they're going to blame the police. They're going to say it's the police's fault. They shouldn't have shot. And it's like, no. First of all, you've never been in that situation. You're not a police officer. At that point, when she used her vehicle to potentially run over that police officer, at that point, you could argue that she was using deadly force. And at that point, the police officer had to stop the threat. And this is why nothing's going to happen to them. At least for now. We'll see. I mean, once the race hustlers get on the trail, they'll probably demand that the officers be fired, they be charged. But again, if that happens, you're going to see more and more and more police officers resign in this country. You're going to see more of a staffing shortage. One of the reasons why they're not firing these guys is because they have a staffing shortage, right? So they're not really punishing them because they're like, well, they did the right thing. And, we have a shortage. We really can't afford to remove them from the force.
Notice Blendon Township police did not identify either of the officers, even blurred their faces. Chief John Belford said that is because of Marcy's law, is what he alluded to, claiming the two officers are crime victims, and the chief believes their identities are protected by state law. Now, one question I did have about that confrontation is why the officer placed himself in front of the car, which was running, and whether that was an appropriate tactic.
Well, the reason why is because that officer was providing cover for his partner who was questioning the suspect. Okay, he positioned himself in a way in which he could see what the suspect is doing while his partner is questioning her, because police are taught that some of the most dangerous situations is when they are approaching a suspect who's in a vehicle. Why? Because you can't see their hands. Okay, there's plenty of places in a vehicle where you can hide a weapon. So police have to be very cautious when they're dealing with a suspect in a vehicle, and this is why that other officer stepped in front of the vehicle so that he can provide cover and to get a different vantage point than his partner. Again, she's trying to present this as if they possibly did something wrong, or the police officer put himself in danger by being in front of the car. Why would he be in front of the vehicle? That's what people who don't know anything, who are ignorant, that's what they're going to say, right? Why was the police officer in front of the car anyways? That's for ignorant folks, okay? That's what ignorant people are going to say.
I took that question to a use of force expert who is not connected to this case, and we'll hear his perspective at 5:30.
All right, Jamie, thank you. Now, the family identified the officer involved as Connor Grubb, and it's a photo of Officer Grubb from the department.
Right? Of course they dox the guy. Of course they go to get his identity. They make sure his picture is put up here for everybody to see. He's a white guy with a hillbilly mustache. Oh, this is going to escalate into the exact type of race conflict that they want, right? Okay, I guarantee you, Crump is going to be on there. Everybody going to be on this, okay? They're going to all be on this. Look at it. This is set up perfectly. Pregnant black woman shot and killed unarmed by a white man. We know where this is going.
Facebook page. Grubb has been on the force since 2019.
And we want to turn now to NBC4's Caleb Michael, who heard from the family's attorney today. Caleb, what are they telling you?
Well, Jen and Jared, Sean Walton, the family attorney for Takaya Young's family, says that this situation is heartbreaking and that she did not have to die. I also got the chance to talk to some of her friends today who tell me she was the life of the party. It was always a good time when Takaya was around. They tell me that she loved her 2 little boys to death and was also very close with her family. Now, today was a hard day for the family, as you can imagine, as they got to see that body cam video from the Blendon Township Police Department for the very first time. This morning, we were here when the family met to view it. They were inside for less than 10 minutes and then left not too long after that. In the statement from Blendon Township Chief of Police John Belford, he says this situation is a tragedy and is asking for prayers to the family during this time. We're also getting a chance to hear from members of the community tonight, many taking to social media to share their thoughts on this incident. I spoke with one social justice leader who says after viewing this video, someone needs to be held responsible.
I would love to sit up here and say, like, we can reform this system, but we've been making the reforms after every single death, and nothing is changing. We say more training. You know, we fund these police stations, and we go, yeah, more training is the right answer. Training is not the answer.
Well, the right answer is to tell people to comply and don't try to run over police officers when you're being questioned about shoplifting. That's the right answer. Again, you'll see a lot less of this if you stop trying to make it seem like police officers are in the wrong for doing what they're trained to do in situations like this. If you start blaming people who put themselves in these situations, again, a terrible situation. I mean, it's tragic. I feel bad for the young lady, okay? I really do. But I would be lying to you to sit here and to try to tell you that, hey, you know, this is all the police officer's fault. It's not. This young woman should have complied. This is why there's no amount of reform that you're going to do except, I don't know, taking away a police officer's guns, which is probably what they want to do anyways, right? Take away the police officer's gun, let the criminals have the guns, right? There's no amount of reform that's going to happen that's going to prevent this type of stuff. The only thing that prevents this type of stuff is people taking responsibility for their own actions and understanding that when you interact with a police officer, you need to make sure that you are complying, because at the end of the day, right or wrong, you can lose your life interacting with this person. Right or wrong. And you want to be on the side of getting through that interaction alive, which happens 99.99999% of the time if you simply just do what you're told to do. It's really that simple.
In this case, that officer was trained correctly and still messed up. There has to be accountability on that police officer.
Again, no accountability
for the police station itself.
No accountability for the 21-year-old pregnant woman who decided to drive off and try to run over the cop. No accountability for her. It's all on police. Again, these people can't even meet you in the middle, right? They can't even meet you in the middle. I think the middle ground is not even correct. I really don't think that the officers share any fault, because, again, she technically tried to run over them. Again, all she had to do is just don't drive off. Just do what she was told to do, and that's it.
Jen and Jared, as you all touched on, Connor Grubb is the officer we now know that was involved in this incident. Attorneys with the family were pushing for his name to be publicly released today. We're told at this time that Grubb is on leave pending a review. Local for you in Blendon Township, I'm Caleb Michael, NBC4.
Caleb, thank you. Now, the police union also talking about this situation and the body camera footage. They are calling it a tragedy for everyone involved. NBC4's Eric Halperin is in Blendon Township with what else they are saying and the latest on the investigation. Eric?
Jen, the Attorney General's office tell me BCI's investigation is still going on. Once it's done, it'll be turned over to the prosecutor. The prosecutor will then present evidence to a grand jury. The grand jury will decide if there are charges. Executive Vice President of the FOP Lodge 9, Brian Steele, started off today's news conference saying the body camera video is hard to watch. He said when an officer walks up to a car, one of the first things they do is look for license plates. He said there were no tags on the car Young was in and pointed out when the officer stepped in front of the car, it was parked. He also called this heartbreaking and says the entire incident needs to be looked at, not just how it ended.
Now, I understand much of the public might be wondering, why even bother with allegations of shoplifting? There's no real punishment for here anyway in Franklin County, so why shouldn't the officer just let her go? Officers have a legal duty to act. They have a legal duty to act when they're alerted to a crime.
And the Blendon Township police chief also released a statement along with the video today. I requested an interview with him. The communications firm working with the department said he won't be available. Local for you, I'm Eric.
Yeah, so again, you got people asking, why even deal with somebody that shoplifted anyways, right? Just let them steal the store out of existence, right? This is what they advocate for. This is what they advocate for, and then they want to cry racism when the store shuts down, okay? Instead of asking, well, why should we be tolerating stealing? Why is this person stealing? Which again, I don't really know. I don't really know if she was actually stealing alcohol or what, but her actions to me indicate that she's probably more likely guilty than not guilty, but who knows? I don't know. What I do know is that if she had just complied and got out of the car and not, tried to run over a police officer, she would be alive. And again, anybody telling you anything different than that, trying to put all the blame on police, yada, yada, they're living in Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff fantasy world. They really are. They don't understand anything. They don't know anything. They're ignorant. Again, this is shutting clothes, in my opinion. Yes, it's a tragic situation. It's a terrible situation. But she could have prevented her own death by simply just doing what she was told to do. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.